Happy Friday and welcome back to the show. Now that you guys are all full from what Z cooked up for you, we need to talk about movies because it is Friday, the weekend is officially here, and there are a lot of new movies and streaming releases that are dropping right now. And honestly, this week's lineup really just has a little bit of everything. We got some big action, then some comedies, a mystery, emotional stories. I mean, we have all of it. And some of these are already getting a ton of buzz before people have even had a chance to watch them this weekend. So let's get into this week's Silver Scoop. All right, now for our first scoop today, we just have to talk about a movie that already has one of the wildest titles of the year because, yes, The Sheep Detectives is officially out today. And somehow this movie about crime-solving sheep has turned into a real major studio release with one of the biggest casts of the spring. So Hugh Jackman, he plays a shepherd living in the English countryside who spends his evenings reading detective novels out loud to his flock of sheep. Casual, right? Well, then one morning, he's found dead. And after years of listening to all of these crime stories, the sheep basically decide that they are qualified enough to solve the mystery themselves. I just want to sit with that for a second. The sheep think they can solve the mystery, which honestly just sounds ridiculous, but that's also kind of why people are so curious about it. So the film also actually stars, get this, Emma Thompson, Nicholas Braun from Succession, and then somehow the sheep voices include Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Bryan Cranston, Patrick Stewart, Regina Hall, Bella Ramsey, Chris O'Dowd, and even Brett Goldstein. Like at a certain point, you almost stop and go, wait, how did they get all of these people to agree to a sheep murder mystery? I don't know, but I love it. I mean, if I read that script, I'd say, yeah, bring me on as well. Guys, check out the trailer.
Officer Derry, I am George Hardy's lawyer. He wrote a will. In the nighttime stories, the people in the will are always the suspects.
That man had nothing.
Well, actually, there is $30 million. And we have our motive. We need to look for clues.
Stand back! I am, after all, a sheep detective.
Who killed George?
What are they hiding?
What if I can't solve it?
I've read you dozens of these stories. They follow very simple rules.
Look, the clue!
These sheep are talking, guys. The sheep are talking. The sheep are watching. The sheep are solving the murder. I just love this so much. I mean, you guys already know I love a good whodunit, right? If you give me suspicious neighbors, hidden clues, and now, yeah, give me sheep. I mean, I'm all in. And I mean, this is not really what I had on my 2026 bingo card, but I am here for it. Now, what's also interesting is that this movie actually has a huge backstory behind it because it's based on the best-selling 2005 novel called 3 Bags Full by Leonie Swan. And Hollywood actually spent years trying to figure out how to adapt it. Studios apparently loved the concept, but they just couldn't really crack the tone because, I mean, it's supposed to be funny, emotional, and cozy, and a real murder mystery all at the same time. But a great crew was assembled to pull it off, and here is Nicholas Braun discussing just more on that exact team that was able to pull it off. Check it out.
Agent sent it to me, and he was like, hear me out. You know, it's a sheep solving a murder mystery and you work with the sheep. Read it. But also Craig Mazin wrote it and Lord Miller are producing it and Hugh Jackman is signed on to play the shepherd. And, Kyle Balda's directing it, who's made these really massive franchise, family films, animated family films, but he knows how to do all this. So just kind of set up to love it, and then I really did.
He is such a good actor. If you guys never saw him in Succession, he's been in some other films as well. He's just quirky, funny. He can just play kind of an oddball, and so I think that's perfect for him to play the detective or the cop in a film like this, where the sheep are the ones who are actually running it all, and watching him try to do his job. I mean, kind of incredible there. Now, director Kyle Balda, who did Minions and Despicable Me 3, said that the biggest challenge was making audiences emotionally connect to the sheep without turning them into full cartoon characters. So the visual effects team, they spent years studying how real sheep move, how they react in groups, and how they interact with humans, because apparently they had to watch hours and hours of reference footage in order to make sure the sheep still felt believable and even animal-like. And even while talking and solving crimes, they still had to be sheep, right? Here's more on what he had to say.
Lindsay and I had a lot of discussions about the sheep themselves. You know, it needs to be grounded in reality. The fact that we have talking sheep, they're not talking directly to any humans. They don't have a relationship with humans in that way, so they have to be realistic. So one of the ways that we wanted to handle the sheep is that they wouldn't do anything that sheep can't do. So they don't walk around on their hind legs or, you know, just gesture with our, you know, opposable thumbs or anything like that. They really remain anatomically as sheep, and it's grounded that way. So that was one of the really key things in terms of the overall tone.
And I kind of like that they made that decision as well, because of how advanced we are with CGI and all the technology that we have. It doesn't have to look like, okay, the sheep are totally out of place. I mean, this is a story that came from a book where in our heads, we're not thinking about kind of like an animated version of a sheep. We're actually thinking that sheep are talking. The sheep are detectives and figuring it out. So if you take that, and now that we have the capability tech-wise to actually bring that to life, yeah, the sheep should look like sheep. The sheep should move around. Even if they're talking sheep, it should really put us into a world where, imagine if you were on a farm. Imagine if you saw these farm animals and then they started talking. They wouldn't turn into these weird animated characters. They would just be the sheep that's talking, which is kind of blowing my mind thinking about it. Who knows? Maybe one day that'll actually happen. So guys, the movie then mixes this live action and performances with CGI sheep and a lot of Hugh Jackman scenes that were actually filmed practically first with real sheep on set before then the animation work was added on later. And Hugh actually joked during the press tour that the sheep were harder to work with than most actors because they would constantly wander away in the middle of scenes and just completely ignore whatever was supposed to happen next, which is hilarious. Here's some more from Hugh Jackman himself.
That's great.
Everybody ready? Ready, George? You say when?
Yeah.
I've done a lot of movies where I've acted opposite tennis balls. I've acted opposite, certainly looked at a lot of green crosses on a stick or a C-stand in lots of sort of special effects movies, but we didn't have that. In fact, there was a puppet made of the sheep. A lot of the time I was acting actually opposite a puppet that looked incredibly alive and real, and honestly, to my eye, it was literally like a sheep is talking to me now. It was extraordinary. So this was, you know, what Eric Filner and Lindsay did for us was make it very, very friendly for actors.
I just want to know that guy, the man whose job it was to take a little stuffed animal baby sheep and just bounce him on the grass and hand him over to Hugh Jackman. I just love it. I love seeing how things are made. That's kind of iconic. And honestly, guys, I mean, this just feels like one of those movies that families are randomly going to discover together, and then they're going to end up absolutely loving it because early reactions, well, they've actually compared it to the movie Babe, mixed with kind of like a classic British whodunit film, which, I mean, sounds fun in my book. Now, check out this next clip, which just shows which voice actors play what sheep, so you guys can have that in mind if you guys do go and check out this film this weekend.
It's a bit confusing. God is a shepherd.
George loved us. He read us dozens of these stories. We shall solve the crime.
We're not scared.
Ah! Why would he stop there?
You think you're brave enough to leave home? None of you have ever left this meadow. Your hooves have never touched anything but grass.
He was just about to say who the killer was. I am, after all, a sheep detective.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking? I want to bash it. I want to bash it so bad.
Stop! We don't bash things unless...
There's a legitimate cause for bashing.
What? George is dead?
She was here that night. What's that neighbor's truck doing here?
This is torture. It was the maid, right? Ducks.
I mean, guys, talk about a cast there. I know it's one thing when I just read those names off. It's another thing when you actually see them in the booth doing their own thing. I love that how collectively as a society, we're all like, yeah, we are down. This is what we need. We need sheep to solving murders and being detectives. And you got all of Hollywood to say, yeah, we want to voice those sheep. We're in for it. So this is definitely one on my list. It's in theaters today. You guys can go and check it out. It is going to be fun for the entire family. I'm here for it. All right, guys, moving on over to our second scoop today. Another big one is hitting the theaters because Mortal Kombat 2 is officially out now. And honestly, this franchise, I mean, it has just reached the point where even people who have never played the games still know, or maybe have heard the name, maybe the characters, the music. Probably at least one person who has yelled, "Finish him," at some point in their life, right?
Finish him.
I mean, just speaking of voiceover, that is one of the most iconic lines in video games. I mean, it's kind of like, it reminds me of some of the lines that like Mario says, right? It's a me and Mario. Like that is probably maybe just a little bit, just right above "Finish him." Mortal Kombat, guys. So it's an iconic line, and that is truly because the Mortal Kombat franchise, I mean, it has been around since the early 90s. It became legendary because it just completely changed fighting games. The violence was over the top. I mean, the characters, they just became iconic. And the mythology around the worlds just grew way beyond just gaming, which is why this sequel is making such a big splash today. So let's get into it. It picks up after the 2021 reboot, and it follows Earthrealm's fighters who are entering the actual Mortal Kombat tournament against the forces of Outworld, with humanity that's basically hanging in the balance. So while you've got all the insane fight scenes and powers that people expect, there's also this huge battle happening over who controls the future of Earth itself. But the huge addition that everybody has been talking about is none other than Karl Urban, who's joining the franchise as Johnny Cage. That is right, he is one of the most beloved characters in the game. He's kind of like this Hollywood action star who somehow manages to be both ridiculous and genuinely dangerous at the same time. So fans, they've just been waiting years for him to show up after the first movie teased him at the very end. So now he's finally front and center here in this sequel. Let's check out some of the trailer to see him in action.
The rules of the tournament are simple. Our fates would not be settled by the size of our armies. They would be decided by combat.
I'm not some great warrior. I'm not some champion. This is a war for the fate of your world. Finish him!
Me.
Finish him! I mean, guys, our action movies are getting so good these days because of tech. That looks incredible. You talk about bringing a game to life. Just that right there, that fight, that matchup, whoo, looks fun. So Karl Urban actually said that this ended up being the most physically demanding role of his career, which actually says a lot considering that this is the guy from The Boys, from Dread, and even Lord of the Rings. Because he actually had to train for months before filming started. He worked on martial arts, stunt choreography, agility training, all of it, because this movie goes way bigger with the action than the first film did. Here's what he had to say about that process.
There were obviously a lot of physicality to the role.
Yeah.
Do you show up early to start rehearsing for this?
3 months before, where I did a cast physical, and it was the most exhaustive physical that I've ever done in my life. And the doctor was taking all these bloods, they're checking my heart, my renal, and renal function. I thought, oh, okay, this is serious. And he comes back and he goes, you're all in pretty good shape. Your cholesterol's a little high. And I'm like, okay, I'll eat some salad. Can I go and do my movie now?
They really need to make sure he was in good shape, good fitness in order to play this role, which is kind of crazy. And honestly, I mean, the filmmakers, they clearly listened to the audience after the 2021 movie because One of the biggest complaints last time was that the film just spent too much time setting up the world and not enough time actually delivering the tournament that fans wanted. So this sequel basically goes all in on the fights, on the fatalities, on the game references, and the completely over-the-top energy that the franchise is known for, which I think is super important. And just quickly, before we get into talking more about that, it's something that Z and I have covered a few times when we were talking about Michael, the film that recently came out. I think it was 2 weeks ago we covered that on The Scoop here. But how are you gonna put everything in his life into an hour and a half, 90 minutes, even if you do 2 hours, right? We see Avatar now pushing close to the 4-hour mark, right? Definitely past 3 hours, because there's just so much to tell, especially when you're entering into a new world, which is why I think that series have become limited series. When you do 8, 9 episodes, that's why people crave them so much, because yes, you need time to set up the world, but then you want to live in the world. You want to see what's going on here. So that's why this second movie is like, okay, we're going to give the fans what they want. We don't want to do setup. We already did the setup. Now let's live, because once you know everything going on, you just want to see how it actually plays out. So here's a little bit more on that in the film itself.
Of the stuff that people wanted to see in the previous film, we almost had like a checklist of, oh, gotta have a tournament, gotta have Johnny Cage. There's a lot of must-dos, and just starting from that foundation was immediately more authentic and more what fans of the games will really want to see.
I could talk about working with Ed all day long. It was great. It was so much fun. So going into this, I knew I wanted to really embrace the treasure trove of delightful things that Ed and his geniuses have created over the years.
Yeah, they listened. I think, that's the smartest thing in the world. What do my customers want? What do the consumers want? Let's give it to them, right? The customer is always right. So if there was a lot of critiques from the first one, this was the time to shine and say, okay, we've listened. And guys, early reactions, well, they are now saying that the movie is fully embracing how wild and chaotic Mortal Kombat is, instead of just trying to tone it down. So check mark there. And it honestly just feels like this is one of those movies where the audience reactions just kind of become a part of the experience, because people are gonna go to cheer when certain characters show up, they're gonna lose it during the fatalities, and probably immediately start arguing afterward about who had the best fight scene, which means it is working, which means people are engaged, which means fans of the video game that are coming to see the film, if they're having those kind of reactions, not the reactions they had after the first movie, which was like, oh, wish I had more of this, oh, they didn't show us enough of that. And instead they're like, oh, do you remember that? Did you see that fight? Oh no, he shouldn't have lost. That's how you know you hit the nail on the head. Check it out.
Finish him!
Finish him!
Finish him!
Finish him!
Yeah, I told you guys, that line is pretty iconic there. So there are some of your favorite characters. You can see whether or not they survive. Do they win the battle? Who becomes the champion in Mortal Kombat? It's gonna be exciting. The theaters are going to be packed tonight. I said it at the top of the show. If you see somebody kind of dressed up as one of these characters, you know what they are going to see. And I would follow them and go check out Mortal Kombat 2. It's in theaters today. All right, guys, now moving on to our next scoop. We are heading over to Netflix, actually, because the film Remarkably Bright Creatures officially starts streaming today. And honestly, this may be one of the most unexpected kind of everyone is obsessed with it type of movies of the weekend, because on paper, just explaining this movie out loud sounds completely ridiculous, because it's basically about a lonely woman and a confused 20-something guy, and then also an emotionally intelligent octopus solving a mystery together. So let that sit for a second. Okay, we have this woman, this young guy, and an octopus, and they're solving, I thought it was just the goats and the sheep that were solving mysteries. No goats, just the sheep solving mysteries. Now we got octopus. I don't know, maybe the goats are gonna join in. Crazy stuff here. But somehow, people absolutely love this story, because this movie is also based on the massively best-selling 2022 novel by Shelby Van Pelt, which actually became one of those books that people would not stop recommending to each other. I'm talking every single book club was talking about it. People were crying on TikTok over it. And now Netflix has turned it into a film. So it stars Sally Field, who I just love, Louis Pullman, and Alfred Molina as the voice of Marcellus the octopus, who honestly may end up becoming everybody's favorite character in the entire movie. So Sally Field, she plays Tova, who's this widow working the night shift, cleaning at a small aquarium, while still carrying around grief and unanswered questions from her past. Well, that's where she starts forming this weirdly emotional bond with Marcellus, the giant Pacific octopus, who's incredibly smart, constantly observing everybody around him, and honestly just kind of acts like he's over humanity half the time. Meanwhile, Louis Pullman plays Cameron, who's this lost young guy just trying to figure out where he belongs. And slowly, all of their lives start connecting through this mystery involving Tova's family history. Check out some of the trailers.
Don't you ever want to be alone?
Oh, it's a joy to see people every day. Watching their lives change.
You have people who care about you.
All this time, I've been looking for the wrong thing. Occasionally, humans can be remarkably bright creatures.
I know I'm gonna cry at this one. It's just tears. Tears are gonna come down. Sally Field, she is so talented, so incredible. I love that she signed on to this. And honestly, I mean, the fact that this movie works at all really just comes down to the casting, because yeah, Sally Field feels made for this role. And get this, guys, apparently the author of the original book, she actually pictured Sally Field while writing Tova, which is kind of crazy because now she's fully leading the adaptation years later. How crazy? That's called manifestation at its finest. Check it out.
Sally, Shelby Van Pelt wrote the character Tova with you in mind. What made you say yes to this film?
Well, I did not know that, but I saw this book in galleys early on, that this young production company, where's our producer, Night Owl, it gave to me in galleys, and I read a few chapters and was, yes, I want to do this. I mean, it's very unique. It's the story of an old woman, a young man, and an octopus. That doesn't come around a lot, so it's unique and a really lovely story about family and healing, home, and an homage to sea creatures.
I mean, she's kind of right. It is a very, very unique story, but I still can't get that out of my head. That the author just 4 years ago was sitting here writing this, probably 5. It just came out 4 years ago. And she's like, Sally Field. It's kind of like, if you ever read a book and you picture all the characters, what they look like, a lot of the times you can maybe put an actor that you've seen a lot as one of the characters, like, oh, okay, this guy's kind of sounding like somebody that looks like, I don't know, maybe Angelina Jolie is this woman in the film or what in the book or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden you go and watch the film and she was actually cast. It's crazy. That is wild. So I think that it's just, it works, and I think that's why the movie's gonna be good. Now, what else is interesting is just how careful the filmmakers really were making this, because fans, like I've said, guys, they're very protective of this book. Director Olivia Newman, who also directed the film Where the Crawdads Sing, spent years developing the adaptation, and Sally Field said that they kept rewriting scenes during filming because they wanted to just make sure that the movie really kept the warmth and the humor of the novel without becoming just too overly dramatic or too cheesy. So to see if they hit the nail on the head, guys, you're just gonna have to go and check it out on Netflix today. I love that this is actually one that you can watch from home as well, because it does feel like one of those cozy films, just like, I don't know what to put on tonight, but you kind of want a feel-good film where you're gonna go through a lot of emotions throughout it, but at the end, maybe you'll feel better about yourself. I don't know, maybe resolve some things you got going on. I feel like this is the film. And octopus is, side note, guys, extremely smart. So maybe after you watch this, go watch an octopus documentary. It is crazy how they solve puzzles, and anyway, their brains blow my mind. All right, so enough about the octopuses, because now for our final scoop today, we are moving on over to a film called Broad Trip, which officially premieres on the Roku channel today. And honestly, this movie just kind of feels like a pure road trip disaster energy from the second it starts. So Sophia Bush plays Alice, who's this very put together daughter who suddenly has to hit the road with her completely impulsive mother, Jeannie, who's played by Lauren Holly, after learning that her mom is about to marry a guy that she barely even knows. Let that sit in, how crazy this is gonna get. And naturally, instead of just handling this calmly like normal people, they decide to turn it into one giant bachelorette road trip that immediately starts going off the rails. Steve Guttenberg plays the fiance, which honestly is just kind of perfect casting because he does have exactly the right energy for the guy that everybody around him is kind of side-eyeing the entire movie. And what makes this setup fun is that Sophia Bush basically spends the entire film acting like the tired parent, while Lauren Holly is out here making reckless decisions, just oversharing with strangers, and creating chaos at every step along the way. So it's kind of like the roles between mother and daughter have switched, and the daughter needs to save the day for her mother. Here's some of the trailer.
Excuse me, are you Alice Anderson, daughter of Jeannie Anderson?
Is she in trouble?
I'd say so.
What happened?
What happened is
I'm engaged!
this is my fiance.
There's my woman! She is not marrying this man. She can't see the parade of red flags he's laid out for her.
Hold my Bowie for me.
This is the start of an episode of Dateline.
We're going to elope in Buffalo next Saturday.
I have to make her call things off with him. What if we drive to Buffalo?
Yes.
A mother-daughter bachelorette party road trip.
Just the thought of that, right? She has a plan. She's like, all right, she is not marrying this man. So we're gonna road trip because I need more time. We're not gonna fly there. No, that's just a few hours. No, we are gonna take the scenic route. So I get in her head, this is not happening. I do have a prediction though on what I think is gonna happen, which is maybe something you wouldn't expect, but I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna take my detective hat off and let you guys watch it, and then we can discuss if I was right or not. Now, Sophia Bush, she said that she wanted to do the movie because she missed those big ensemble comedies and road trip movies that just used to be everywhere in the late 90s and early 2000s. And honestly, I mean, this definitely kind of has that feel to it because the movie leans into all the stuff that makes road trips a disaster, right? Being trapped in a car too long, random arguments that explode out of nowhere, weird roadside stops, old family issues resurfacing just kind of halfway through the drive, all of it. So if that piques your interest, guys, you can catch it on Roku today. And I will say, Sophia Bush, she does make a point there. Because you guys remember the movie, there was Crossroads with Britney Spears was the lead in that. You had Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. I mean, there were a lot of, there's so many more. I'm just trying to think from the 90s specifically themselves. Anyway, but it's just, there were so many of those. And then that kind of was like, okay, been there, done that. And so now we're gonna start maybe seeing a resurgence of that, but it always is a little wild. So that's Broad Trip. You guys can check it on Roku today. And with that, guys, I mean, that is your movie lineup for the weekend and heading on in, because if you have been looking for something new to watch, I mean, I think this lineup definitely gives you options. Enjoy it. Let me know what you guys are gonna watch, what you're gonna go and check out, and we will be right back after this break.